Hello YouTube, this is the Android Anarchist, and I'm here with a blue-white deck tech. Now this is my friend's blue-white flash deck, and it's loaded with counterspells that allow for the very efficient use of a Runechanter's Pike. Now, you may ask, why didn't you build this deck? Well, I'll admit it, I'm not very good at building the blue-white color combination. But my friend, who has almost always played some form of deck with blue-white in it rather heavily, I know this deck is good, and I didn't want to give you guys a bad deck. So, well, here it is. For lands, he's running a playset of Hallowed Fountains, which Hallowed Fountain is blue-white shock land, and it's a very useful card if you want a more versatile mana base earlier in the game. So a playset of Hallowed Fountains. Also a playset of Glacial Fortresses, which there really is only one turn, one play in this deck, so it normally is not a big deal if lands enter tap the first turn. So 4 Glacial Fortresses as well. He's also running 4 Moorland Haunts, which is really nice if it's later game and board's pretty much clear, and say you can produce a spirit token at the end of your opponent's turn. Click your little Runechanter's Pike onto the thing and swing in really heavy without too much of a warning. Plus they can't counter it, which is really nice. So 2 Moorland Haunts. 1 Ghost Quarter to destroy those pesky little caverns that counter all the counter spells in this deck. So I believe there's at least 1 more in sideboard. He's also running 3 plains and 7 islands. Getting onto the creature spells, he has 3 Augur of Bolas, which really gets cards into your graveyard to feed your Snapcaster Mages and to ramp up your Runechanter's Pike. So for 1 colorless and a blue, he's a 1/3, and when Augur of Bolas enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. It's also running a playset of Snapcaster Mage, which is a very good control deck if you're running instant control card, if you're running instants and sorceries in just about any format. That's why he's worth $25, but for a blue and a colorless, he's a 2/1 with flash. When Snapcaster Mage enters the battlefield, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until the end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. Okay. There's also a playset of Restoration Angel, which has flash, flying. When Restoration Angel enters the battlefield, you may exile a target non-angel creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. So that's 4 mana, 1 of which being white, for a 3/4. Getting on to the non-creature spells, he's running 2 Detention Spheres, which is really nice against tokens. A playset of Unsummon, which for 1 blue mana, return target creature to its owner's hand. A playset of Syncopate, which for blue and an X, counter target spell unless its controller pays X, which is really nice against those decks, those really aggro decks that play things as soon as they get the mana out, so you only have to counter it for 2 mana. And then that spell's exiled if it's countered that way. It's also running 3 Dissipate, so for 2 blue, 1 colorless, counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. So, very nice. And then Essence Scatter, which is by far the nicest against aggro. We have a decent bit of it in our meta. Counter target creature spell. Plain and simple, counter it. Goes in the graveyard, can't use it. Unless of course it has Scavenge. Not too many problems with that though. Also 2 Rewind, which is nice if you want to run more than 1 counter spell in a turn. So counter target spell, untap up to 4 lands, which notice the mana cost is 4. So really it costs nothing if it resolves. Now for the draw cards, there are 3 Think Twices, which for 1 and a blue, draw a card. Flashback it for 2 and a blue. Really rather simple. Very useful too. Also Thought Scour, which you end up normally if you're running this correctly, you will mill yourself with this card instead of milling someone else. So for 1 blue, target player puts the top 2 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Then you draw a card. It's also running 2 Sphinx's Revalation, which for 2 blue, 1 white, and X mana, you gain X life and draw X cards. So 2 of those. Now for the massive win condition of the deck, Runechanter's Pike. So for 2 mana, lay it out, then equip it for another 2. Equip creature has first strike and gets +X/+0, where X is the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. Now, he is running over 20 instant and sorcery cards, I believe, so it gets very powerful very quickly if you're running this deck correctly. But that's the best take I've found on blue-white aggro. Like, comment, subscribe if this helps. Injured Anarchist.